Work preparing the site for the construction of the Paringa building was being done on the corner of Hindley Street and Gillis Place, Adelaide, in July 1924. As the workmen employed on the project began excavating the site, which had formerly been an older shop, they discovered a bricked-over well, the first of 5 they eventually discovered. One was revealed after a workman walked away from its location, only for the rubble there to suddenly disappear down a 20-foot deep hole. Their digging had revealed tree roots and what appeared to be roots of a grapevine. Among the spectators who paused to watch the progress of the work was a man bent over with age. He stated, "I remember this place when I was a boy. A doctor used to live here and bury bodies." His announcement prompted an outburst of laughter from the workmen and the crowd. Indignantly, the old man shuffled away, taking the rest of his memories with him. However, on the 31st of July, while excavating to create a basement, 9 inches below the surface, the labourers hit a solid block of concrete, which they discovered was 18 inches thick. Below this, they unearthed an inch-thick steel plate, 3 feet by 2 feet. Then, from the ground beneath this, the startled workers dug up the remains of a human skeleton. 3 pieces of skull were found, darkened with age. One piece from the back of the head had a couple of small indentations, suggesting that the person may have suffered a fracture in life. A thigh bone and a shin bone indicated that the skeletal remnants had belonged in life to a man between 5'8" and 6 foot tall. A heel bone and some unidentifiable fragments were also found. The history of the site was investigated. It was quickly established that there had never been an official burial ground there, although early European settlers in the colony of South Australia in the 1830s had buried loved ones outside of cemeteries. Mrs. Gouger, who died in 1837, was buried by her husband in his garden in Gouger Street, as the West Terrace Cemetery had not yet opened at that time. Her body was exhumed and transferred there when it was. Other burials were known to have occurred in sand dunes near Semaphore, and babies were buried near a church at Glenelg and in the sandhills nearby, and in a garden in Gillis Street in the city. The owner of the land where the bones were found had been, as the old man had said, a doctor. Dr. John Woodford, who had been born in Somerset, England, accompanied Colonel William Light, the surveyor who planned the city of Adelaide, on the ship the Rapid in 1836, as the surgeon for the survey party. After Woodford's time, the site was used for commercial premises. In 1875 it was shared between Giles and Pascoe, nurserymen and fruiterers, and Marshall and Taylor, drapers. In 1880 Hanton and Dalton, fruiterers, and Hall and McLean drapers were operating on the site. By 1899 it was Hogan and Henstridge, tailors, shirtmakers and mercers, and the American Novelty Shop. And in 1920 the Adelaide Sports Depot conducted their business there. There was no record of a tragedy that would account for a body being buried under the building, although people had gone missing over the years. The pieces of bones were eventually believed to be from different people. The other bones, including a radius, were thought to come from 3 infants. The bones were found at 2 different depths, indicating separate burials were possibly made. Police investigated, but the remains were too old to be identified. The bones were presumably reburied, most likely in West Terrace Cemetery, although the coroner at the time, William Ramsay Smith, had been accused of grave robbing in 1903, and when he died in 1937, 180 skulls were found in his private collection at his Belair home. It is possible the Hindley Street discoveries fell into his possession. The bones surfaced briefly from the dark corners of history, and soon returned to them. Maybe if a dismissive audience had not laughed at an anonymous old man who seemed to know something of what had happened there long, long ago, we might have learned more.